And the polls, well, they are open for at least another hour or two, and many say it may be the most important election in our lifetimes. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones.
A big question for a lot of people tonight is when we will know election results. I'm Devin Dagnall. We may not see results tonight, but we may have a good idea of how things are headed. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has the details.
The first polls that will close tonight are in eastern Kentucky and much of Indiana at 6 p.m. That's when we'll get an early look at how Trump is performing in traditionally red districts.
One vote could be that swinging vote to change something.
At 7 p.m., polls close in North Carolina and Georgia. An early win for Harris in either state would be pivotal for her. Georgia's Secretary of State says election officials should have results quicker than previous years thanks to a new check-in process.
They don't have long lines, and so we get the results posted very quickly.
At 7:30, polls close in Ohio, and we could see whether Democrat Sherrod Brown hangs on to his Senate seat in what has become a reliably red state. At 8 p.m., polls close in Pennsylvania, the largest prize among the battleground states, but it may be days before there's a winner declared in the state. That's because state law prohibits election officials from counting absentee ballots in Pennsylvania until Election Day.
They are aware that they are in a race against the clock. They've got to tally the votes as quickly and as accurately as possible. They think they can do it by perhaps Wednesday afternoon, maybe a bit later for the more competitive counties.
By 9 p.m. Eastern, polls are closed in Michigan and Wisconsin. Election results may be delayed in the city of Warren, Michigan, because no absentee ballots have been counted there yet. Warren, unlike other cities in Michigan, opted not to utilize the state's new law that allowed the counting of absentee ballots to begin last week. Results may also take days in Arizona. Officials can start counting ballots as soon as they're submitted, but Arizona law also gives election officials about 2 weeks to finish counting. Delays are also expected in Wisconsin, where state law also prohibits counting absentee ballots before today. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Meanwhile, here in Maine, of course, polls remain open and voters are filing into those locations around the state.
We go live to Doug Banks at the Cross Insurance Center in Bangor, covering the polls and the Ontario campaign. Doug, how are things looking?
Yes, even though the sun has set, the polls have not. Good evening, Beth and Devin. I'm standing outside the Cross Insurance Center right now, where I'll step aside real quick. So some people are lined up outside the door right now, all the way through into the concourse, where polls close again at 8 o'clock here in Maine, here in Bangor as well. Now, one of the people that were actually here out front of the Cross Insurance Center was Ontario. Now, of course, Ontario is running for the Congressional 2nd District against Representative Golden. And I spoke to him a little bit earlier today, and here are a few things that we talked about. He started the day in Lewiston and made the trip from Auburn to Hamden to Herman. And, he urged voters to get out and vote before 8 o'clock today. And here's just a little bit of the conversation that I had with Ontario before today.
This transcends party. This is about the future of the country and about electing people who share our values. Really proud to be born and raised up in Aroostook County from a farming and logging family. And I think that's the values that we need in D.C. because too many people have gone down there and forgotten what's important.
In his coalition.
Now, one of his, slogans was "people over politics," and that was definitely evident in here. My conversation with him, talking about this transcends parties, that transcends those dividing lines. Now, again, I urge folks, if you're seeing this right now, the polls close at 8 o'clock tonight, so there's still an opportunity to go out and cast your vote. Now, I'm going to be covering Ontario's watch party and his campaign throughout the entire night, so we'll be providing updates as that goes on. But for now, I'm going to send it back to you, Beth and Devin, live in Bangor. I'm Doug Banks for ABC 7 News at 6. Back to you guys in the studio.
Doug, thank you so much. Covering the Golden campaign tonight is our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard, who is live outside of the Augusta Civic Center.
The Civic Center is one of the many voting locations in our state capital. Good evening, Corey.
Yeah, good evening, Beth and Devin. Now, incumbent Congressman Jared Golden is fighting to keep his job, that is. He's been crisscrossing the 11 counties that make up Maine's 2nd congressional district over the past few days. And that's, of course, from the western foothills to the crown of Maine. Now, both yesterday and today, the congressman held no media availabilities or interviews. Now, I did catch up with a senior advisor for his campaign yesterday, Bobby Reynolds, and I asked Reynolds if there's any cities or towns that they're watching closely tonight to maybe give them an indication of how the campaign might go one way or another. This is what he had to say.
Well, we're going to be watching results from every reporting precinct in the district. Obviously, the rim counties are important. That's what we've concentrated on today. We're in Waldo County, Somerset County, up in Penobscot and Piscataquis County. And of course, you know, as the big communities come in, Lewiston, Auburn area, Bangor, those will be important.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to be watching all of those. And Beth and Devin, the congressman is not expected to speak with us tonight. He is instead continuing the tradition that he has, as in past races, of watching the results pour in with close friends and family members. Now, we also didn't get to see the congressman cast his ballot today because the campaign told us that he voted early using Maine's no excuse absentee voting. Now, we will, however, instead hear from Bobby Reynolds again at 8 p.m. tonight at the Lewiston Democratic Party headquarters. So for right now, live in Augusta, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Thank you, Corey. Following the Angus King campaign is Grace Blanchard in Brunswick. She has the details for what to expect.
Here at Flight Deck Brewing in Brunswick, we are just a couple hours away from the arrival of Senator Angus King. We're told by his team that the senator spent the morning visiting polling places across the state after voting right here in his hometown. The senator is, of course, hoping to return to the Senate, but the 80-year-old has to beat out 3 other candidates to do so: Democrat David Costello, Republican Demi Kazunas, and Independent Jason Cherry. The doors open here to the public at 7, and King is expected to arrive at 8 o'clock. We'll have more, but for now, in Brunswick, I'm Grace Blanchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Thank you, Grace. Well, voters in the Bangor area are getting a little help making their way to the polls today. Bangor's new trolleys are on the road, giving folks from several communities a free ride to polling locations. 3 trolleys are being used to transport people in Bangor, Brewer, Old Town, Orono, Wvii, and Hamden. There are several pickup spots, including at City Hall, the Bangor House, and at the new Public Transit Center in downtown. The trolleys will also pick up riders at other designated stops.
And just a quick reminder for everyone at home, you know, throughout the evening, you can head to our website, foxbangor.com, for all of your election results. Again, that is foxbangor.com.
Well, last week, we were able to speak with former Secretary of Defense, Maine Representative, Senator, and Bangor native William Cohen about the upcoming election and the current political landscape. Amongst his insights, he shared his thoughts on the significance of the state of Maine seal and what it represents both here and abroad.
Take a look at the state of Maine seal. What does it show? The farmer with the scythe, the sailor with the anchor, the moose in front of pine trees, water there to show that we have water galore in our state, and the North Star, which shows the sense for integrity and independence. That's what Maine represents to the rest of the country, and I can tell you to the rest of the world.
Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and get a first check of our forecast.
All right, Beth and Devin, thank you. Happy Election Day. Beth and Devin.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, well, coming up, I'll be sitting down with Maine's top election official, Secretary of State Shenna Bellows. Stay with us. With Secretary of State Shenna Bellows. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. It's kind of a tradition at this point.
I am thrilled to be here in studio with you.
So first, before we get to things like, you know, voter turnout and what we're seeing at the polls, we want to address what happened this morning with the multiple hoax swatting calls that transpired at schools, but some of those schools double as voting locations. So what are the details as you understand them as far as the fallout from that?
Unfortunately, swatting hoaxes have become a reality for schools and law enforcement. And today there were swatting incidents that were targeting schools where there were voting places. Mm-hmm. Wyndham High School, Scarborough, Portland at Deering High School in Lewiston. We were in Lewiston shortly after the swatting incident. Law enforcement acted perfectly. They swiftly identified it as fake, someone seeking to disrupt our elections potentially or to target our schools. They communicated well with election officials, so voting was able to continue calmly, safely, and securely without incident.
I know that, you know, there's certainly, with the contentious nature of many of the races today, you know, sort of there were probably already concerns about safety, or just it's just a topic on people's minds. So I'm sure this sort of added to things, so good to hear that it was resolved quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Voters who are still headed to the polls, they have until 8 p.m. and they should know that law enforcement and election officials are coordinating closely. It is very safe and secure. We want every Mainer to turn out to vote.
And speaking of the polls, we were saying that Maine's voter turnout at the last election was the best in the nation. We certainly want to carry that mantle once again. What were you seeing in your travels today?
So remember, 1 in 3 Mainers had already voted when the polls opened this morning, and what we saw was incredible turnout all across the state. We started in Buxton at 6 a.m. and there were lines out the door. We were at Pittsfield earlier this afternoon, again, a line out the door. That's really exciting to see.
Yeah, for you as the top election official, it must be heartening to see that kind of turnout happening. So just talk a little bit about how you were feeling in your travels today and the sentiment that you're getting from voters that you may have spoken to.
Election day is like the Super Bowl for election officials, and our clerks have worked so incredibly hard to prepare for this big day. And so to see voters, especially doing same-day voter registration, we saw young people registering to vote for the first time. One girl with her dad was in tears about her having that opportunity to participate in our democracy.
Because I think it's so important to note that, the freedoms that exist here don't exist everywhere. And so, it is important to get out there and take advantage of the rights that we have as Americans.
Our elections in America are a beacon for the rest of the world, and it's part of what makes us such a great nation.
All right. Anything you wanted to add about what you were seeing earlier today that folks should know about who maybe haven't gone yet?
So remember, if you're not registered to vote, just get your license or ID. You need proof of identity or residency to register, but you can register and cast your ballot. If you're in line by 8 p.m., you can vote.
All right. Well, great. Shanna, thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Devin, back to you.
Thanks, Beth. Great stuff over there. In other news, a scare this morning at multiple schools in Maine. According to Maine State Police, various crisis lines across the state received threats of armed individuals on multiple school campuses. The Maine State Police have confirmed these calls were hoaxes, more commonly known as swatting calls. We have confirmed that among the schools that were hoaxed were Bangor and Brewer High Schools. There is no known danger to the public or students at this time. The investigation into these calls remains ongoing. Well, partisan gridlock has been a talking point for politicians on both sides of the aisle for many years now. In our conversation with former Secretary of Defense and Bangor native Bill Cohen, he talked about Mainers leading the way in working across the aisle over the years and the importance of finding common ground.
I believe that's what we've always done historically in Maine, whether it was Ed Muskie, whether it was Margaret Chase Smith, whether it was Senator Mitchell, whether it was Olympia Snowe with Susan Collins. We always try to say, where's the middle? Where can we reach agreement on these big issues? They're always going to differ philosophically, but that's okay. That's good. We believe in competition. We believe in ideological, philosophical competition in the marketplace of ideas. That's good for the country. That's good for Maine. But what we don't want to see is where one party, one extremist party, either left or right, dominates the political agenda.
All right, when we come back, we'll have your full 5-day forecast.
Stay with us.
Welcome back. Election day wouldn't be possible if not for the hundreds of poll workers from around Maine that give their time and efforts to assist voters. Our Jody Hersey met up with 2 poll worker pals in Bangor that have decades of experience, and neither of them are showing signs of slowing down.
Oh, thank you. I don't know what to do without her.
87-year-old Jan Budden and 90-year-old Yvonne Stevenson are longtime poll workers and friends who spent Election Day at the Cross Insurance Center in Bangor.
Seeing people that I've known through the years, and I just love doing it.
Budden says working the polls runs in her family.
My father was an assessor, and my mother worked the polls, so kind of thought, that would be kind of fun to do.
Turns out Budden enjoyed it so much, she's become a regular fixture at the polls. These 2 retirees combined have more than 42 elections under their belts.
Election day, I do 15 hours. I go from 6 until, and I'm a stamper, so I stay a little later, which I love doing.
While most voters want to get in and out of the election booth as quickly as possible, these Maine seniors say there's no other place they'd rather be on Election Day.
It's a chance to give back to the city what the city's given to me. I'm a Bangorite.
In Bangor, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And we certainly appreciate their efforts. Well, candidates have commented about the importance of young voters in this year's elections. Well, we didn't have to look all that far to find young voters exercising their civic duty on Tuesday. In Hamden, 15 preschoolers at Highland Preschool got the chance to cast their very own ballots during their class's Teddy Graham elections. Each student went into the voting booth where they taste tested one honey, one chocolate, and one chocolate chip Teddy Graham before casting their vote for their favorite. These young voters say it was an exciting race.
My favorite Teddy Graham.
You voted for your favorite Teddy Graham?
Yeah.
Did you know which one was your favorite before today?
Yeah, it was the chocolate.
So we like to introduce it at an early age so that they start understanding the concept, and we try to do it in a simple way that they can understand and relate to.
Well, when those ballots were all counted, chocolate won by a landslide with 9 votes. The honey Teddy Graham finished second with 3 votes, and the chocolate chip Teddy Graham close behind with 2 votes. I have to say I very much agree with those election results.
I don't know if I agree with these results. We might have to see a recount. My personal favorite is the chocolate chip.
We need a recount on the Teddy Graham election.
They did give it, fair and impartial. They all got to try them all, but I'm partial to the chocolate chip.
Yeah, we're sticking with the chocolate. All right.
All right, and we close tonight with some final thoughts on governance. Bill Cohen and his message for Maine voters.
I would hope that Maine people will look at this and say, we want to believe in the rule of law. We want to support those representatives in Congress who believe in the rule of law, who believe that we have to remain independent to the point where we still support our party's philosophy, but we also support decency, equality under law, or equal opportunity under law. That's basically the message I would hope that people of Maine would have received by this time, and I can only hope that's the case.
All righty, well, that is going to do it for us. From everyone here at ABC 7 News, take care. Have a great rest of your night. We'll be popping in from time to time with results once they start coming in.
Absolutely, but for more of your local news, you can join us over on Fox 22 News Tonight at 6:30.